Hi, it's Wednesday again, time for my dream journey book. Today we are looking at chapter 5 and talking about fear and how fear can keep us from growing towards the future we desire. Welcome and thank you for joining me. The Cambridge English Dictionary defines fear as an unpleasant emotion or thought that comes to you when you are frightened or when you believe that you're facing some kind of danger, or when you're in pain, or basically when something bad is happening or you think something bad is going to happen to you. It is actually a response which can help you survive. If there is danger, it is good for you to be afraid, because then that would help you do something or take action to move you away from the fear. So fear can work for you or it can work against you. If, for example, you have a fear of snakes, and as a result of that, you stay away from them, you keep your compound clean, that's a good thing. But if your fear of snakes is such that you are afraid to leave the house and as such can really not do anything, then it is not working for you. If your fear of exams gets you to prepare better for them and therefore pass well, then it is a good fear. But if that fear is such that you freeze when you get into the exam room, then it is working against you. Oftentimes, our perceived fear is greater than the actual fear, or greater than the danger that we think we face. One of the exercises that I like to do during my workshops when we are discussing how fear gets in the way of our dreams, or how fear can stop us from growing, is to ask people to make a list of everything they are afraid of. So if you're in a position to do that, make a list now. Hi Eileen, and welcome. So if you're in a position to do that now, take a piece of paper and make a list of everything that you're afraid of. Once they have done that, I ask them to look at the list again and to highlight or to strike out or to circle any item on the list that they cannot do anything about. So you would look at your list, or you can look at your list if you have one now, and just determine whether indeed there is absolutely nothing that you can do about that fear or that thing that you're afraid of. And doing something about the fear includes perhaps working with a professional to help you overcome that fear, as happens in cases where people have got such extreme fears that it really interferes with their lives. When people have got certain phobias, they may need to work with a professional to help them overcome that fear. So going back to the exercise, then once I ask people to strike out anything that they believe, or they truly believe they cannot do anything about, I have yet to find a situation, or I have yet to encounter a situation where someone strikes out their entire list. People may strike out one or two things depending on their perception of what they can or cannot do about the fear. But I have not found anyone so far who strikes out their entire list. What does this mean? It suggests to me that we can do something about a lot of our fears. So what can you do to have fear working for rather than against you? When you read up on what psychologists and scientists and sociologists and a lot of such professionals have to say about fear, you will find that one of the things that is suggested is that you face the fear. This means that you acknowledge that you are afraid of whatever the thing is or the situation is, but then you tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna go ahead despite my fear. And we do this a lot, even if we don't think about it in terms of overcoming fear. We do this a lot. We are afraid of making new friends. We are afraid of meeting strangers. We are afraid of leaving home. We are afraid of sitting exams. And there's a long list of things that we are often afraid of, but we go out there and do it anyway. So if I just go back to that example of snakes, and I'm using this example because I'm one of those people who's terribly afraid of snakes. So if you, like me, have got this really big fear of snakes, and you encounter a situation where a snake looks like it could harm your baby, for example, you will find that your fear of your baby being harmed is so much bigger than your fear of the snake that you will confront the snake or do whatever it is that you can do to make sure that that snake does not harm your baby. Without the baby in the picture, you would probably run. So this example just serves to illustrate that sometimes a bigger fear can help you overcome a fear that you have. But how do you determine this? And I'm just going to give you an example. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen as far as this fear of mine goes? And once you have decided what the worst could be, or what the worst that could happen is, then compare it to the thing that this fear is keeping you away from. So this is your fear, and this is what fear is keeping you away from. Which one carries more weight? If the worst that could happen is not better than what the fear is keeping you away from, then that gives you reason to push ahead despite your fear. So what is fear keeping you from? And is it worth it? Is it a price that you're ready to pay? Is it a state that you're willing to forgo? Is it a dream that you are happy to let go of? What is fear keeping you away from? Fear is a perception. But while we feel or perceive fear with our minds, it actually manifests itself emotionally, physiologically, and even physically. You know, the increased heart rate, the funny feeling in the stomach, the tense muscles. Sometimes fear will even make you ill. So another way to reduce your fears or to manage your fears is to keep yourself in good condition, to keep your emotions in good condition, to keep your physical body in good condition, so that your physiological functions are also in good condition. So taking good care of yourself spiritually, intellectually, academically, emotionally, or whatever other way you want to think about it is another way to help you overcome your fears. Taking care of yourself socially, building your emotional resilience, building your physical strength can help you to overcome some of the fears or to reduce some of the fears that you have. And we are going to look at this in one of the latter chapters in the book, where I talk about doing the inner work so that whatever you bring in actually stays clean, if I may put it that way. When we started looking at the earlier chapters, one of the first things we saw was that if we really want to grow with confidence towards our desired future, we need to look at the beliefs that hold us back. Changing what you believe about what you fear is one of the things that you could do. As I suggested earlier, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Ask yourself, what's fear keeping you away from? Ask yourself, what would you be letting go of if you let go of your fear? Many times you will find that letting go of your fear actually brings you bigger rewards, more rewards than you probably ever imagined. So as we move to close down, I am encouraging you to reflect on what your fears are. If you haven't been able to make that list that I suggested, that is a list of all the things that you're afraid of, do that. And then go through that list one by one, and for each item, each situation, ask yourself, can I really not do anything about this? You will find, as I have found with many of my workshop participants, that you can do something about most of the fears on your list. And if indeed you cannot do something about a fear on your list, then why let it keep you away from what you really desire? Fear is a perception. Fear is a belief. You can change how you look at fear and therefore grow with more confidence towards your desired future. Thank you, Electina, Davis, Eileen, for joining me today. I'm going to pause a little bit and see if anyone has got a question for me or a comment. Okay, so as I said, today we were reviewing chapter 5 in my Dream Journey book. Chapter 5 is titled My Kind of Fear, and it gives you an opportunity to reflect on the things that hold you back from growing towards your desired future. And one of these things is fear. And in the chapter, we suggest that you acknowledge your fear. We are not saying that you deny your fear or you pretend that you're not afraid, but you acknowledge your fear, but tell yourself that that fear is not going to stop you from reaching wherever it is that you're going. As usual, there is plenty of space for you to ask yourself the what-if questions. What if what I am afraid of isn't really as bad as I think it is? How will you experience what is beyond that fear if you let the fear stop you here? That's the challenge that I'm leaving you with today. What if what you are afraid of isn't really that bad? What is it keeping you from? Thank you, and see you again next week. Do remember that you can always send me questions about how you are using my Dream Journey book or how you are experiencing the reflections that we are sharing in these sessions. Bye-bye.